I bought the DJI OSMO Nano with my own money, so just know this whole video is completely unbiased and my true, honest thoughts from my own personal experience. This video is going to be all about the actual image quality this guy produces and the real world performance that backs it, because that's what matters most to me, and I'm sure it matters to a lot of you guys. And trust me, there are a lot of good things about this guy, but there's also a lot of bad things. Let's get into it. So how do you use this thing? How should you use it? For me, I'm gonna be basically shooting with this thing as a POV sort of setup 90% of the time. I might sprinkle in some like vlogging in there, but this will be strapped to either my chest or my hat probably most of the time to get POV content of me filming on set, working, so I can get behind the scenes stuff for social media. First of all, you can magnetize this guy to anything that's magnetic, so that's really handy. But using the accessories, you can also pretty much mount this thing wherever you want. You can suction it to windows with a suction cup mount, you can clip it to your chest with a magnetic pendant, or put it on your hat with the provided clip mount. And the fact that it is so small but provides such a wide field of view makes it pretty handy to put into tight spaces. Now, setting up the recording quality of your camera, like your frame rates and your resolution, there is a bunch of different modes, which is great. There's 1080p, 2.7K, and 4K in a variety of different frame rates. You can also change the bit rate from standard to high, the bit depth from 8-bit to 10-bit, and also the ability to shoot in 10-bit D-Log-M. And just to quickly add on to this, to maximize the quality of really any camera and its exposure, you want to shoot in manual mode, just so you can get that natural motion blur in your shots, which really does make quite a difference. But to do that, especially if you're outdoors in the sun, this thing will crank itself with high shutter speeds on auto mode, so you really need something like an ND filter to put over the top of this so you can bring down that shutter speed and give that natural motion blur back. Unfortunately, I couldn't test that. I don't have the ND filters, and I also don't really want to spend another 120 bucks or whatever they are from DJI to put on this. I'm happy with how it is for what I want, so there we go. The great thing about this little camera is that it has the same sensor as the DJI Action 5 Pro, but just in this little small package. Unfortunately, the smaller size does come with its costs. Let's get into that. The main issue I have with this camera is the overheating. Now, I haven't had completely terrible performance like I've seen online. Others just cannot get this to work without overheating. But from my experience, it definitely gets in the way for longer shooting. So here are some recording tests I did so we can see the different frame rates and different recording qualities to see how long they lasted for or if they overheated. So the first batch of recording tests was done all indoors in a cool climate controlled environment, standard 10-bit color and a high bit rate with the 16:9 aspect ratio. First up, we got 4K 25 frames per second. It didn't overheat and it lasted 56 minutes. Next is 4K 60 frames per second and it did overheat at 18 minutes. Then I switched to HD 25 frames per second. It didn't overheat and it lasted 71 minutes. Finally, HD 60 frames per second and it overheated at 25 minutes. It seems the 60 frames or 50 frames per second really does drain it quite a bit and will get pretty hot. So just be wary of that. You might want to stick to lower frame rates if you want to try and maximize the recording length. I then decided to take it for a kick of the footy with me. It was hot, it was warm, it was about 30 degrees or something outside, so the sun was blazing. So here is pretty much the same settings as before, except out in sunny, hot conditions. 4K 25 frames per second did overheat at 21 minutes in. And then shooting 4K 50 frames per second overheated at 4 minutes. But this does have an endurance mode you can turn on, which does slightly improve the ability of the camera to perform, but it drags down the quality to 8-bit. So now we're back inside in that same climate controlled environment, but this time we've set on endurance mode. And this time I just did 4K 50 modes and it overheated at 45 minutes, but it was at 1% anyways when it did, so it was basically dead. And then took that same endurance test, but put it outside, 4K 50 frames per second, and it overheated at 10 minutes. That's a bit disappointing if you ask me. I feel like that's barely a difference. So if you have this in the sun with 4K 50 or 60 frames per second, it is gonna overheat and drain pretty quickly. And here's a comparison between 4K 10-bit and 4K 8-bit, just so you can get an idea of what you'll actually choose, because if you can sacrifice by doing 8-bit, you will get better performance, but if you think you really need that 10-bit color flexibility, then you gotta know the caveats that come with it. So, what are the things I like and don't like? I like the versatility of this monitor, vision dock, whatever they call it. I just like how modular it is. If you need to flip the screen around to see yourself, you can do that like that. And there you go, you have the screen. If you're vlogging, and obviously the fact you can monitor this completely separately and wirelessly up to a decent range. It breaks out pretty quick if you are going through walls and stuff, but it's pretty expected. And I just like the extra control you can do. You can still shoot in manual mode if you need to, and D-Log M and all that. So it does give you that flexibility if you do need it. Speaking of flexibility, the fact that it is super portable with this just tiny camera, you can put it anywhere you want, really. The fact that it's magnetized, I can literally chuck it on my wall. For some reason, there's metal inside this wall. I don't know why, but that is just really cool. And when it doesn't overheat, it does have really solid quality video. I don't mind the image out of this. Now, the things I don't like, I think it's pretty obvious to start with the fact that it does overheat quite a bit in the higher recording modes. I really hope DJI can figure out some sort of way to alleviate some of the stress on the camera and the heat management, because I would really love to shoot in the higher frame rates more consistently and for a longer time. Now, honestly, that's really the only negative criticism I have about this camera, is the fact that it overheats. The other things I would say is super nitpicky, but I'll tell you guys anyways. I just wish it would come with a pack of ND filters that they do sell separately. I bought my DJI Air 3S and I did buy it in that bundle Fly More package, and it came with ND filters. It's already coming with all these accessories and mounts to wear with the camera and stuff. Just shove some NDs in there and make people shoot better quality videos outside. And the last thing I will mention as a slight criticism, previewing the clips. You have to have this connected to the vision dock thing to preview the clips on there. So if you have this mounted somewhere in a difficult location and you wanna record it and check the angle, you actually have to bring it back out and connect it back to this thing to view it on here. Now, I think you can probably connect to the app to view it. So if this wasn't a difficult location, you might be able to wirelessly transfer low-res versions of the video, I believe. But that just sucks. You have this thing for a reason and you can't wirelessly sort of transmit playback video from this guy. So, what are my final thoughts for the DJI OSMO Nano? I do think it's a really handy little action camera in the way they've designed it. I can get past most of the overheating stuff by just shooting in lower quality modes, but I can totally understand the overheating aspect of this camera is a bit of a deal breaker for a lot of people. But in that case, I would just get something like an actual action camera like a GoPro or the DJI Action 5 Pro that, you know, has better capabilities all around as an action camera. Anyways, if you do want to pick this package up, I'll leave a link in the description below so you can get it nice and easy. I'll see you guys later.